Hello everybody, my name is Isaac Hall. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit of a while, but you know, we're just going to start doing this again more regularly, come and do more videos. So obviously tonight is the day that the Premier League is back. It has come around like, I don't know what, it just seems like last week that Man United were beating Fulham and everything was happening. The FA Cup final was a few days away, Champions League final, week after that. It really seemed like a couple of weeks ago that it ended, but you know, in truth it probably was one of the quickest turnarounds we've ever seen in terms of Premier League season. But yeah, this is going to be an exciting season, I think, because we've got a lot of talent now in the Premier League. Obviously we've lost a lot of talent to the Saudi League and other leagues, but we have got a lot of fresh faces coming to the league, and I think this is going to be as exciting a season as we've had in a while. So yeah, as I said, City and Burnley are back tonight. First game, 8 o'clock kickoff. I don't think it's going to be as easy a game for City as people are making out. I've seen a lot of people online saying this is going to be 4-5, 6-0. I might be proved wrong, but I don't think that Turf Moor has been a difficult place to go for a long time with company there. Obviously, he's got a point to prove against City. You know, he was a legend there, but he wants to prove that. He isn't just a fan. He's a Burnley manager who's trying to get his point across that he is ready to take that next step and become an elite level manager. I think he will be Pep Guardiola's successor if and when he decides to leave. I don't think he'll be fired. I think he will decide to move on once he feels he's done all he can do. I think that's a long ways away though. But yeah, I think City will win it. I think it'll be a 2-1 win, 3-1 win. I don't think it's going to be as utterly dominant as people are going to think it is. I think City think they've already got it won, which is, you can't do that in football. You just can't. You can't go into a game thinking you've won it. I mean, look at the Carabao Cup games that have just been played. People in Championship losing to League 2 teams. You can't, by any stretch, be going into a game thinking you've got it won. And yeah, I think they will win it, but not as convincingly as they think they're going to win it. But again, I might prove wrong. We'll see. So anyway, I'm going to predict the league now. I'll come back to this at the end of the league. I'll say who I think my top scorer is going to be. Take a wild guess. I'll say who my second top goal scorer is going to be because I think that's more fun. The assist, who's going to get most assists, clean sheets. And I'm going to chuck in a wild player of the year and a flop transfer. We'll do that one as well. We'll predict winners of cup competitions as well. So yeah, let's get into it. So we'll go from the bottom up. I think this one's inevitable. Luton Town are coming in dead last. They have signed Ross Barkley. The photo of him signing is amazing. I've seen some amazing tweets about that. But I just, you know, Tae Chong, Mads Anderson and Ross Barkley are the 3 players. They signed more, but they're the 3 players I can bring to mind. And I don't think that's quality enough to keep you up in the Premier League. I think there's a lot of people saying they'll go down with record points. I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll get 4 wins and about 6 draws, and that'll take them to 18 points. I think they'll go down with about 18 to 20 points, to be honest, similar to what Southampton did last year. I can't see them picking up many points at all. I can see it already. Luton won Manchester United 0 when we play them at their home ground. I can see it already. It's just such a Man United thing to do. We'll go into the game after beating, I don't know, Chelsea 3-0 or something and lose to Luton. But yeah, I think Luton are destined for the drop. I just can't see a world in which Luton stay up, unfortunately, and yeah, I think that's a nailed on possibility. My next one is going to be Wolves. They've lost their talisman in Ruben Neves. Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, I get it. You know, Oscar said it when he moved from Chelsea to the Chinese league. It is just about money at that point. And he'll be on ridiculous wages, but I just think it's a shame because he is Wolves' best player by far. He'll be one of their highest earners. He's been the club captain at just 26 for a couple of years now, and he's the reason they're staying up. And I just think without him, they obviously brought in that Matheus Cunha from, I think he used to play for Madrid, I can't remember where they bought him from. Bundesliga, some Bundesliga team. And I don't think he's going to be able to do it in a similar way. Obviously they've lost Connor Cody to Championship side Everton. Their manager left 2 days ago, 4 days before their first game of the season. And I can't see Wolves being able to bring enough people in. I think they're going to mess it up with the manager. I think they're going to bring the wrong manager in. And I just think I haven't got the quality in the squad already to be able to stay up. But yeah, I think they'll get a bit more wins than Luton, and I don't think they'll spend the whole of the season in the relegation zone. I think they will constantly be 16th and below, flirting around in the relegation scrap. But I just think towards the end of the season, when the players are tired, they'll have picked up a couple of injuries. The manager might not have worked out, so they might be on their second, maybe even third manager at this point. And I just think they will fall into that and not pick up many points towards the back end of the season. February, March onwards, I don't think they'll pick up many points at all. So yeah, my last relegated team. Now this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest. Now the issue with Nottingham Forest is obviously they bought a lot of players last season. They signed quite a few of them on one-year contracts, like Felipe and Keylor Navas and Renan Lodi. They were all either on loan or on a one-year contract, and they've lost those. It's looking increasingly likely that with Tom Heaton just picking up an injury at United, that Dean Henderson's going to have to stay and be second choice keeper. So they're not going to sell him to Forest, meaning they're going to be without a first choice keeper. They're going to be playing with, I think it's Danny Ward is their first choice. Not Danny Ward. Yeah, Danny Ward. Yeah, the Welsh Hennessy, that's it, Wayne Hennessy. They're going to be playing with him for the rest of the season, and I just don't think he's Premier League standard at all. Obviously, Serge Aurier's their right back. I don't think he's good enough. There's a whole list of players. Having a midfielder, John Joe Shelvey and Jesse Lingard is not good enough in the Premier League. Morgan Gibbs-White's an unreal player. I'm quite surprised he's not being snapped up by anybody. I think he will in the next few years. But again, just like Wolves, they've got the squad numbers to be able to consistently put out a good 11, but I just think that 11's not good enough for the Premier League. It's Championship standard, it's promotion standard in Championship, but it's not good enough to stay up in the Premier League, which is really a weird thing to say. But yeah, those are the three teams. Interesting to see that only one team that came up is going straight back down, but that's just what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of movement to be had in and around there, but I think those three teams are going to be going back to Championship. I can see Forest coming straight back up. I can't see Wolves coming straight back up, and Luton, I think, will go down and spend another decade or so in the Championship before coming back up. I just don't think Luton have got the facilities or the monetary standing to be able to build up another promotion side. I just don't think they will. So my 17th team, just avoiding relegation, will be Sheffield United. Now they've lost their main striker, Neil Ramendi, main forward, and they haven't really brought in many others. Ryan Brewster is going to be their starting forward, maybe Oliver Burnley to some standard, but Ryan Brewster's definitely the younger, faster choice, if that's what they want to go for, or are they going to play Brexit football, as it were, and just get the tall striker up front and nod the ball down to him. Yeah, I can see Sheffield United narrowly staying up, which, some of my Chef Wednesday fan mates are not going to want to hear, but that's just my honest prediction. I do think Sheffield United will narrowly avoid relegation. I can see it coming down to the final couple of games, being, 3 points in it, 6 points in it, not much in it at all, to keep Sheffield United up. And then maybe Sheffield United get relegated again next season, depending on who come up. I can see Sunderland coming up next season. Watford have been away for a while, and maybe Norwich. Now, Watford and Norwich are typically yo-yo clubs, but I can see if they come up, Sheffield United go back down the season after. So I can see them doing what they did last time. I think if you said to a Sheffield United fan right now, would you take 17th place? I think they'd bite your hand off. Obviously, they want to be doing better. They did have a good first season when they first came up, but their squad's nothing like what it was 3-4 years ago when they came up for the first time. When they came up for the first time, they'd nearly got Europe. And then they had a really poor season and went down. But I can see Sheffield United doing not all right, but good enough just to stay up. In 16th place, also joining Sheffield United in just avoiding relegation, you might argue, I'm going to go with Everton. Everton are an interesting one. Sean Dyche is normally a good manager to keep clubs up. I mean, obviously, he didn't when Burnley got relegated, but they sacked him midway through the season, I think, which was a terrible decision. I remember sitting there thinking, why would you sack a manager that's consistently kept you up halfway through a season when you're in such a difficult place? But yeah, I think Sean Dyche will just about keep them up. I really do hope Dele Alli has somewhat of a resurgence to his career. That interview was very good, I feel. I think more footballers do need to open up about that sort of things, but that's a separate discussion. I don't think he'll ever get back to the levels of where he was at Tottenham. I just think he's 26 now, he's supposed to be in his peak, and he's almost playing at an MK Dons level where he's going to have to break back into the Everton team, which is not where he was a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think Everton will stay up. They've not really signed anyone of note. Obviously, Connor Cody isn't at Everton. He joined Leicester in the Championship. So yeah, I can see Everton staying up. I think again there'll be a couple of points in it between them and Sheffield United. But say that Everton are a long way off from their close City rivals. I don't think they'll ever get to that level unless Liverpool go through some major financial crisis and Everton seek some massive financial gain. I think then it'll start to overlap. But I think Everton are a long way off pushing for Europe, as they did at one point push for Europe. It's just decades ago now, but obviously they did. I think they're a long way off doing that, and I think there needs to be some massive change within that club to be able to do it. But they've got some exciting people. I do really hope Dominic Calvert-Lewin has got a good season, because he's 24 now. And if you look at it, when Kane retires, he's 29, 30 now. When Kane retires, who is going to be England's leading man? Obviously, Cole Palmer can do that job. And that's really all I can think of. That might be ludicrous ball knowledge from me, but I can't think of many young, incredibly talented English strikers that we've got. I mean, whether you'd like him or not, Mason Greenwood, if he can put himself back in that Man United team, I think he'd be good enough to do it. But are England going to let him do it? I don't know. I think then and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I really did like him that couple of games he plays for England. I think he's taller than Kane, but he's a similar play style to Kane, and that it's worked. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And my motto, I think everyone's motto really. In 15th place, sorry all you Irons fans, but West Ham United. Declan Rice has gone, and it's looking increasingly likely that Lucas Paqueta is going to go to City. Now, I don't think anyone would have predicted that at the start of the campaign. But yeah, losing Declan Rice alone is incredible. They're looking at bringing in Scott McTominay, and the drop off of Souček and Rice to Souček and McTominay is unreal. I think they're really going to struggle this season. Obviously, McTominay did technically win a trophy last season, got to a final, got to a quarter-final, got third place in the league, but he didn't play much. And when he did play, he didn't really play well at all. But this might be a chance for him. I think this style of football is going to suit him. Sitting back, not having a lot of possession, having less time on the ball, and just springing forward for a counter-attack will suit McTominay's play style. And I think, obviously I forgot to mention as well, Maguire. West Ham are going to sign Maguire. It's looking increasingly likely with each passing day that they're going to get that deal over the line. I think they will. I really do. And again, that style of play suits him. In complete fairness to Maguire, when he joined Man United, we were playing counter-attacking football, low possession, no time on the ball for the defenders. It was literally just get it and bring it forward, which suits Maguire because you don't have to have a good passing range. You just have to have a good long ball, and he does have a decent long ball on him. Or pass it out to the thing, but pass it out to the fullback, and they ping a long ball. But he doesn't have that ability to string the play between the lines, like a Martinez, like a Varane does. But you don't really need to do that at a club like West Ham, because losing Rice and Paqueta, your midfield goes down. So you're going to have to go back to the style of football where you're pinging balls out wide and crossing it in, or pinging balls over the top for the striker to chase back to goal football. They're going to be playing defensive, sit back, part of the bus football, and that suits Maguire, I feel. So I think they can have a good season, but I think 15th is where they'll end up. I also think playing Europa League football is going to take it out of them. I think they won the Conference League because of Rice and the level that he played at, and losing him and Paqueta. Playing Europa League football, I don't think A, they've got enough squad depth, and B, I just don't think they're going to do well enough. I did see a report that they were going to sign James Ward-Prowse, so I think he can do a job, but again, I think Paqueta is 3 times the footballer that Ward-Prowse is, and the level of skill that he brings. So I think, you know, although you've sold Rice and Paqueta and you're going to get close to 180 million for the two, I don't see them investing. I see them buying 5 or 6 mediocre players when they could buy 2 or 3 players on that level and continue what they're doing. It's interesting that this season, isn't it? Because it's going to be West Ham, Liverpool, Brighton in the Europa League, and I can see Newcastle dropping out of the Champions League. I don't want to be harsh, but I just think they don't have the level to play at the Champions League just yet. I think they're nearly there. They are nearly there, but I think they're going to get a hard grip, and I just don't think they're going to be able to cope. But anyway, 14th place is going to be Crystal Palace. Yeah, Crystal Palace are going to come 14th. I think losing Zaha is a major blow for the Palace contingent. I can't see how they're going to recover from that, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, it's a strange one because he did seem like he was somewhat happy there, but now that seems to not be the case, which is, you know, I say it's prerogative, but he's gone for money, and that's fair enough. A lot of players have done that this season. You can't knock the lad, but I just think without him, they're going to really struggle. I mean, their front three now is going to be what? Mateta, Edouard, and Jordan Ayew, and maybe Benteke? No, Benteke is out in the Belgian League, MLS, sorry. So yeah, I don't think they're going to cope at all. But mid-table finish for Palace is a good finish. They're never going to push for the title. They're never going to push for Europe. So I think, again, if you said to a Palace fan, will you take 14th again, they'd say, yeah, right, that's a decent finish for them. So yeah, 14th for Crystal Palace. Now in 13th place, I'm going to go for Burnley. Now, it's quite surprising that Burnley have finished so high, but it's also not, because you think about it, Fulham did really well last season by their standards, and Bournemouth did really well last season by their standards. None of them did exceptionally well, but they got quite high. Fulham were pushing for Europe at one point. I think they finished 8th or 9th, so didn't quite get there, but they were pushing for it. So I think 13th place is good. Again, I think Burnley did play adventurous football last season, but this season they are going to have to play increasingly defensive football. So although people are raving about Kompany's new tactics, we are going to see an increasing level of Sean Dyche ball, for lack of a better word, sitting back, parking the bus, like a lot of teams lower down the league are going to do. They're going to have to sit back, they're going to have to take a lot of pressing, they're going to have to take a lot of attacks. They're going to concede a lot of goals, but I can also see that Moroccan striker, his name is flown out of my head. He's really good. But you've got to think about Weghorst. He's left on loan to Hoffenheim. I don't understand why they've done that. I think he matches Burnley's profile of what they're going to want to do this season very well. They are going to want to hoof it up to him, for him to nod down to either an oncoming attacker or head it to the back. I mean, we've seen his aerial presence for United has not been good enough, but for a team like Burnley, they're going to consistently play that style of football. They're not going to play it to feet. He's going to improve, and hopefully he does get better from there. So yeah, Burnley 13th, I think that's a good finish. I can see them being in the league for a good couple of years now. I think their downfall will be when Kompany inevitably leaves for a bigger role. I think it will be City, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was some other club. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Kompany left, and I think that would put Burnley into disrepute, and they would fall back down into the Championship. I think they would come back up eventually, but they would need to get the right manager, the right players in, and I think Kompany leaving would be the kickstarter of that. In 12th place, we are going to go for the Cherries, Bournemouth. again, brilliant season last season. We've touched on this already. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I do need to justify every point. Bournemouth did well last season. Jefferson Lerma's an unreal player. Marcus Tavernier's an unreal player. Philip Billing, I really like the look of. Dominic Solanke's really coming to his own. Harry Wilson's looked Harry Brooks has looked really good. Leno played for Fulham, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Fulham aren't actually on this list, which is interesting, but they would be my 11th, so we'll talk about Fulham. Fulham are going to be 11th, so we'll leave them out for now, because obviously they're not, for some reason, in the tier list, which is fine. Fulham are 11th, alongside Bournemouth. I think they're going to get just upper, lower mid-table, if that makes sense. So they're going to be lower than 10th, but they're pushing for upper mid-table. I think they can do that in a couple of seasons. Obviously, I think Mitrovic has gone now. Willian's left. Fulham have got a worse squad than they did last season, but I think they do still have the quality to be able to survive comfortably, and I think they will. In 10th place, I think it is going to be Brentford. I can't see them getting European football again this season, but I can see them doing well. Obviously losing Ivan Toney is a massive blow, but I do think Brian Mbeumo is a class player. Damsgaard is a very good player. I think if they lose David Raya, this could be subject to change and they could fall further down. But I think with the squad they've got, Ben Mee's a class act. I think they can do really well, and I think Brentford will just scrape upper mid-table and get that 10th position. In 9th, I'm going to go with Aston Villa. If it'll let me put it in. Won't swap over, there we go. Aston Villa are going to get 9th position. I think Villa are a decent side. I think they've bought really well. Pau Torres, I think he's going to do really well. Diego Carlos. Diaby, I think he's going to do really well on the right wing with Leon Bailey on the left, or Watkins on the left and standing down the middle, just a variation. They've given themselves more variation, more manoeuvrability in that front line, to be able to try new things, confuse opponents. If a striker's not doing so well against centre-backs, but you think he's going to do well against the full-back, you put him out there. You your wingers around, things like that. I think that's given them a whole new level of depth that they're going to be able to utilise very well. It's gone out of my head. What was I going to say? Unai Emery is, he didn't do particularly well at Arsenal. I think he won an FA Cup, I think. But yeah, I think he's done very well at Villa. Steven Gerrard did not do well at all, and Unai Emery's come in and really steadied that ship and put it onto a much better course than he found it. So I think Villa will get 9th, and I think they're in the Europa Conference League. Do I think they'll win it? Nope. Do I think they'll get far into it? I think quarter-final stages, and I think, again, Villa fans will take quarter-finals of a European competition after not being in it for so long. I think they would buy your hand for that, but I can't see them winning it. I think it's too many games for them. In 8th position, narrowly missing out on European football, I nearly went Brighton then, but we're going to go Tottenham. We are going to swap them around. Missing out on European... Why wouldn't it let me swap them? Let's do it that way. In 8th position, Tottenham. We, in the past few hours, got the here we go of Harry Kane to Bayern, meaning leading the line for Spurs this year is going to be 1 league goal, Richarlison. Woo! I think Tottenham are really going to struggle. I think they've got 8th. I think Son will be back and firing. I think Kulusevski is going to do really well. But I just think Harry Kane leaving is just too big a blow. 100 million they're going to get from is an unreal amount of money, but I just can't see them doing ridiculously well or getting a massive result in the league. They're not in European football, which could help them. But I think still losing their talisman, top goal scorer of all time, pushing Premier League top goal scorer to Bayern is going to really halt them. I think the 100 million, they're not going to have time to be able to put that to use that. I know we've got till the end of August, but I just think they're not going to have time to put together a decent showing of signings coming back in to use that money by the time the transfer window closes. So I think that'll be in January next summer kind of thing, when they do bring in a top quality striker to replace him, because Richarlison, not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Conference League, 7th place. I'm going to go with Brighton and Hove Albion. they've lost McAllister, and it was looking like Caicedo was going to go to Liverpool, but now it looks like he preferred staying Chelsea. But regardless, he looks like he's on the way out. That Evan Ferguson, Matoma look really good. Lewis Dunk has signed a new 3 or 4 year contract, so he looks good. What's his name? Enciso looks unreal. He scored that banger at City, but he did also have a really good season last year. So I think Brighton will do well. Obviously, they're going to be in Europa League, so they're going to be playing a hell of a lot more games this season, 6 more games at least, and I do think they'll advance far into that competition. Again, quarterfinal, semi-final stages, but I just don't think they're going to have enough squad depth to do well in the league and the cup competition. So I think 7th, but again, that's an unreal finish for Brighton. That's a good finish for Brighton. Europa League in 6th position. I'm going to go with Chelsea. Oh, not in there, fella. Chelsea. We're going to get 6th. Obviously, had a shocking season last season. They brought in more people. Get your words out. They've lost Kalidou Koulibaly, didn't have a great season last season, but they've still got Thiago Silva, Benoit Badiashile, and Wesley Fofana. Obviously, Fofana's injured, but I think he's still a good player. I don't know if he's going to play this season because it did seem like quite a bad injury, but he could still make it back towards the latter stages of the season. Again, no European football this season is going to help them, but I think they brought in another 4 or 5 players again. I think the issue with it isn't the fact that they've got squad depth, it's the fact that they've got too much squad depth. How you build a team that does really well in a league is you have a team that's been together for a while, they know each other's styles of play, they know each other's strengths, weaknesses, how to work with each other. I think by bringing in half a new side that are all going to want to play, not only do you get a fractious dressing room, you get players that are always going to want to outshine each other and want to be a one-man team trying to impress the gaffer to play next game. You're going to get players that don't understand how the other plays and not know how to gel together as a team. But I do see Pochettino doing really well. But 6th place in Europa League, I think if you said to them, 6th place against where you finished last season in 11th, they'd say, I'll take it. That's a decent finish. In 5th place is, sorry all you Tyneside people, Newcastle United. Now, everyone's going to come for me and say, oh, you hate Newcastle because you're Man United fan and they beat them in the league. We beat them in the cup competition, but that's that. They brought in Tonali, and I don't think they brought in many other big names in this summer transfer window, which has surprised me. Maybe that's to do with financial fair play, probably is because they haven't brought in much in revenue. But I just think with Champions League football, like I said earlier, I think they'll get knocked out of their group. I think they'll go down to Europa League. I think I could see them winning the Europa League. Or it could be a Newcastle-Liverpool final, getting to the final. But I just can't see Newcastle having the level of players to do well in as many competitions as they're going to have to play. And that's just the way I see it going. I see Newcastle getting really ahead of themselves, and maybe they don't have that mentality yet of being a constant side that play every 4 days. They didn't have to do that last season, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that this season. I think, like I said earlier, they're nearly there. They are nearly there. I think 2 or 3 more seasons and they'll be consistently in the Champions League. I think other teams will be constantly in that debate, but I think 2 or 3 more seasons, get the right calibre of players in. I think, unfortunately, as well as he's done, Eddie Howe's got to go. I think they're nearly there. But this season, 5th place, we get knocked out of the Champions League early, so you've got more time to focus on the league and get into an easy European competition, get to the Europa League final, maybe pick up a trophy in the FA Cup or the Carabao, and 5th place. That's a very good season for Newcastle. That's they were nearly relegated 2 seasons ago. This is an elite level season if they can do that. And yes, they are. I think they're good enough to get Champions League football if they didn't have Champions League football already. That sounds daft, but you get what I mean. That I don't think they've got the squad level to be able to keep going and do that level. In 4th place is going to be Liverpool. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because Yes, they brought in Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai, so they have had a midfield rebuild. Those two players I do feel are better than Jordan Henderson, Naby Keita, Chamberlain and Thiago, those two alone. But their issue last season was the lack of midfield options. But since last season, Arthur's gone back to Juventus, Fabinho's gone, Jordan Henderson's gone, Oxlade-Chamberlain's gone, Keita's gone, Thiago might leave, and that's it. Meaning now they're good midfield options: McAllister, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, and Stefan Bajcetic. They've got 4 midfield options. Bajcetic is a defensive midfielder, so they could play McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Bajcetic. But Bajcetic is injured at the minute. Curtis Jones is not physical enough to be a defensive midfielder in this league, and Caicedo's just rejected him. So who are they going to bring in as CDM? There aren't many players out there that I think are good enough to carry Liverpool's defensive midfield. I think if you bring in a whole new midfield, I think that's really going to scalp them. I could see them winning the Europa League just as a point to prove. Hold on, there's a spider. It's gone, it's all right. I think kill him, I just wafted him away. Peter, don't come at me. Sorry, Liverpool are going to get 4th. Their midfield is not strong enough, and with a whole new midfield, it brings back to what I said about Chelsea. If they bring in a new CDM like Chelsea have brought in a whole new team, their midfield is going to take a couple of seasons to completely gel together and play very well. I think you look at them 3 singly. If you introduce them to a new midfield, to a already settled midfield, I think it would be a completely different story. But the fact that it's 3 separate midfielders all come in and have quickly got to adapt to a Premier League. Obviously McAllister's already adapted, but Szoboszlai's going to have to adapt, and I don't think there's many other defensive midfielders that would make that move, so you're going to have to look elsewhere. I can't see it doing very well. But 4th place, back in the Champions League, back where Liverpool belong, I feel, back in the Champions League, and I think they can push on next season if they can get the right calibre. They need more midfield options than 4. It's not enough to be able to get back to where they were a couple of seasons ago. In 3rd place is Arsenal. Bottled the league last year. Again, like I said, they got knocked out early in both the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, so there's really no excuses in terms of fatigue. At the most, they had to play 2 games a week, and they were often just playing the one. So that excuse of we haven't got enough squad depth or we're fatigued doesn't wash with me. You look at City, they were playing Premier League, they got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, but they won the FA Cup and they won the Champions League. They were playing in 3 competitions and still do very well. Man United were playing in all 4 competitions fairly close to the end, apart from maybe the Europa League. We still did decent. Liverpool didn't do so well in that, but they still looked all right. Arsenal were in 1 competition from from December sort of time at least, so they had the whole end of the season playing once a week, and they still fluffed it. And I think this season Declan Rice is good, Havertz is good, and Odegaard is good, but I don't think Odegaard and Havertz playing as 2 10s and having 1 6, I don't think that's going to suit Arsenal. They played last season very well when they had 2 6s and a 10. I think changing that to a 6 and 2 10s or a 6 and 8 and a 10 to 6 and 2 8s, I'm going to be a pessimist. I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. Gabi Jesus has looked a little bit off it in pre-season. I do think he's picked up a little injury. And their backup is Eddie Nketiah, who I don't think is good enough for an Arsenal side. So they've got to bring someone in. I think they can do all right, but I think 3rd again. 2 seasons straight in the Champions League, I think they would take that based on where they've been. They haven't been in it for a long time, consistently at least. I think 2nd place they'll take that. 3rd place, sorry. In 2nd place will be Manchester United. I'm only kidding, it's not going to be City. Obviously not going to be City. Manchester United will get 2nd place, in my view. Manchester United will get 2nd. I think Mason Mount, although he's had a bit of a shocking pre-season, he's going to turn it around. I think he will have a good league season. I think Andrea Onana is suited to the Premier League, the modern Premier League, and I think Although David De Gea got 19 clean sheets last season, I think Onana can do that and more. And I think Onana is going to contribute more to assists and pre-assists and just getting us into that final third a lot more. We're going to move higher up, so we're going to control a lot of the space behind us. We're going to have a higher pitch percentage of area that we control. I think he's just going to make us that little bit more dominant, which is what we need. Højlund, I'm a little bit sceptical about. I think he does suit our style of play and what we're looking for in a number 9, but it's too early to say. I mean, he's not even going to be playing until the third game at least, because he's got a little bit of a back injury. So that means he's going to come into the fourth game of the season against Arsenal cold. I think he'll probably end up playing it, but he's going to be a bit off it. And then it could all go wrong from there. It could go right. It's just too early to tell. I think we would have done well, although it's what we've done time and time again. Bring in an older striker for the one season, get Højlund up to speed, get Højlund integrated into the squad, and push on from there. And in first place, of course, they're not going to be there. It's going to be Manchester City. So, like I said, Fulham will be 11th if you're wondering where they are. I don't even really need to describe it. City will win it. Simple as that. They'll go 4 league titles in a row, which is going to break my heart because that breaks a record that Man United hold. But it just is what it is. They'll do it. It is what it is, and that's just where we are, where we've got to build again and go from. But yeah, that's my league. City to win it. Champions League are going to be Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool. Europa League are going to be Newcastle and Chelsea. Conference League will be Brighton. Going down will be Forest, Wolves and Luton. Sheffield United just avoid relegation. And your typical mid-table teams will be your typical mid-table teams, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Premier League. We love it. Top scorer Haaland. Do I need to say any more? 36 league goals in 38 games last season. He didn't play all 38. I think he only played 35, so he went more than positive. I'll say this. I think he'll get 30 league goals. I don't think he'll do as well as he did last season. I don't know why. I've just got a little feeling in here and in here that says he won't do as well as he did last season. I think he'll be out for a little while with an injury. I think he'll be out for 10 games with an injury. I think that's going to scalp his chances, but still. Getting 30 goals in 28 games, if he plays all 28, is going to be very good. So I think he can do that. Second top goal scorer is going to be Darwin Núñez. He came from Benfica to the Small Reds. Woo! And I just think Darwin Núñez is going to have a very good season. I think Liverpool have improved on their squad from last season, although they've not that much depth, as I touched on. I think their midfield has improved in terms of overall. The starting two at least as we're looking at it, and I think if they can get in a defensive-minded midfielder, or even if you play McAllister as that defensive-minded midfielder and you bring in more of a box-to-box to play alongside McAllister in that role, I think you can do really well. Most assists is going to be tough one. I think Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. I think he's going to have a blinder of a season in that Newcastle midfield, bringing Tonali in. Joe Linton plays there. I think Bruno Guimaraes is going to have a really good season and get top assister. Most clean sheets, Andre Onana. I think he's going to get 16 clean sheets. I did say better than De Gea, but 19 clean sheets is incredible. I think he'll get 16 clean sheets. But I think he'll get about 4 or 5 assists, which De Gea just could not do last season. Most red cards. He's a certain Brazilian that plays for Man United, Casemiro. I think he'll get a couple of red cards again this season. The winner of the FA Cup is going to be Arsenal. I think they're going to win it again after winning it a couple of seasons ago. I think the disappointment of coming third and probably getting knocked out of the Champions League will mean that they will win the FA Cup. Winner of the Carabao Cup, I think it'll be Manchester United again, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Tottenham winning it, because it would just be the most funniest thing if Harry Kane left, Bayern won nothing and Tottenham won a trophy. That would be amazing. Winner of the Champions League is going to be Real Madrid. I think Arda Güler is going to have an amazing season. Bellingham's going to do unreal. And I think they're going to do really well and win the Champions League. Winner of the Europa League is going to be Liverpool. They'll advance to the final stage of the tournament and win the trophy. Winner of the Conference League will be Villa. No, not Villa. It's going to be Fiorentina if they're even in it, or if not them, some Italian team, because Italian teams have done well in it the couple of seasons it's been there. So Fiorentina or a low-level Italian team will win the Conference League. Yeah. Flop of the season. That's a tough one. Flop of the season is going to be Kai Havertz. He's going to have a stinker. And best signing of the season is going to be Declan Rice at Arsenal. He's going to have a very good season. That is my Premier League predictions. Let me know what you think down below. Am I a complete and utter idiot? What do you think the league's going to be like? Tell me your predictions. And also, anything you want me to talk about, drop it down below. I'll have a look. We'll have a see. We'll have a read. We'll go from there. Bish, bash, bosh. Love you. Bye.